And it's now time to introduce this year's Oilers Hall of Fame inductees. He's an Edmonton native, a University of Alberta medical student, a legendary Golden Bears defenseman. Randy Gregg joined the Edmonton Oilers for the 1982 playoffs after playing for Team Canada and spending 2 seasons in Japan, I believe it was Kokadu, as a player coach. The 1983-84 season, career year for Randy, he had 12 goals, 40 points. He was plus 40, not bad. He had 10 points in 19 playoff games. The Oilers won their first cup. Following that season, and I think he'd even joke about this, he was selected to represent Team Canada at the 1984 Canada Cup. It was a pretty good squad, as I recall. He won. Randy went on to become one of 7 players to be part of all 5 Oilers Stanley Cup championships. Following his retirement, Randy completed his residency training program at the University of Alberta. And Dr. Gregg still operates a successful medical practice in Edmonton to this date. As part of his legacy, the Dr. Randy Gregg Award is presented annually by U Sports to reward excellence in Canadian student athletes. Dr. Randy Gregg. And born in London, Ontario, but a true oil country native in our books, Craig MacTavish played 2 seasons with UMass Lowell before being selected by the Boston Bruins. MacT joined the Oilers in 1985-86. He helped them to 3 Stanley Cups in 87, 88, and 90. He served as team captain of Edmonton from 92 to 94. He won a 4th Cup with the Rangers, playing alongside Mark Messier and, of course, Kevin Lowe. And he began his career coaching in the Rangers organization as well. After a couple of years as an assistant in New York, MacT returned as an assistant coach for the Oilers. He was then named head coach in 2000 and guided Edmonton to a Stanley Cup final berth in 2005-06. Not only an NHL player and a coach, Craig also earned an executive MBA from Queen's School of Business. He's had 10 years as Oilers vice president of hockey operations and a general manager. On behalf of the selection committee, please welcome Craig MacTavish to the stage to join Randy.
Well, I've got 3 potential guys to deliver the eulogy.
For who?
For me. I'm definitely not that good a player, and I'm certainly not that good a person. but I appreciate all those kind words, Simmer, Charlie, Kevin, of course. Thank you.
I'll start with a question for you, Randy. Just thinking back to playing for the legendary Claire Drake at the University of Alberta, does it seem a little bit surreal as it turned out for you to come out of that program? It's not there are a couple players that come out once in a while and have the sort of career and end up having the impact, and I don't even know if it was that important to you relative to the importance of family and medicine and those sort of things. So I just wanted to know, it's got to be a pretty special day.
So I'd like to clarify a couple things if I could. First of all, as you can see, we have 12 grandchildren here. The ones that are quiet are my responsibility. The ones that are not quiet are Kathy's responsibility. So I just want to clear that up right away. So good job, guys. Keep up the good work, you 12. There was I want to mention one thing. There was a comment about putting a reporter up against the wall. I want to tell you, because this epitomizes these gentlemen around here. My first year in the NHL, we were down in Pittsburgh, and it was a reporter from the Montreal Gazette. And of course, I had a medical degree. I was different. I didn't play junior hockey. I wasn't good enough to play junior hockey. So he wanted to use my background to show how awful these guys were. And so my first year, he came and said, Randy, I know you're in your room reading medical books, and they're in their room reading comic books, but what do you think? So I thought, well, okay, my first year, these are wonderful, unbelievable athletes. So I knew exactly what he was trying to do. He was trying to use my medical background to demean how great these young athletes were. So I said, first of all, I'm not in my room reading medical books, and they're not in their room reading comic books. And in fact, I respect many of them more than I do the doctors I work in the hospital because of their commitment and respect they have for the game. Well, about 2 weeks later, in the Hockey News, which is the Bible of all hockey players, it came out in quotation marks. Well, I'm in my room reading medical books, and they're in their room reading comic books, but on their whole, they're pretty good guys. I saw that man about 3 weeks later, and I did grab him like this, and I put him up, said, "If you ever do that to somebody," because of course the media can do that. And every hockey player in the NHL thought that I was better than somebody else because I simply went to university. That was absolutely not the case. So that's the reason, and that's the only time I got in a fight. Don, you're right. You were the fighter. I was the lover, because I learned very quickly that my wife is much tougher than I am. So I don't pick a lot of fights because I'm going to lose a lot of them. Anyway, you talk a little bit about
Coach
Claire
Drake
Drake.
coming out of there. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, Claire Drake was a visionary. Many people think he was the best coach in the history of hockey. And you've heard the saying a million times that it really resonates when you're in that dressing room, that nobody cares who gets the credit. It's amazing what can be accomplished when nobody cares who gets the credit. And it was just like that. You went to the rink, you did your 8 hours of medical school, and then you went to the rink, and you dressed in 3 minutes, and you went out and did your best, and probably not the best you could. But, you know, I saw the same thing with these men. And we came to the Oilers, and I don't know, are you wearing your Stanley Cup rings? I don't even know where my Stanley Cup rings are. I know I have 5 of them, but it's not that I wear them. It's just that we worked hard enough together to get them. And so I like these little guys come around. They don't know what the Stanley Cup are, but the big guys, the mums and dads out there, have all sat in the Stanley Cup in their diapers. That's how long ago it was, Mac, that they're now mums and dads out here. It's the pride we had. You know, when you see a person, I look at Paul Coffey over there. Holy smokes, I haven't seen Paul in a long time. It's like we were together yesterday. Dave Hunter, the fellows that were up here, Don Jackson. We may never see each other for another 20 years, and when you see each other again, it's like your brothers. Now, somehow, there's 1,000 teams out there that play hard, and there's teams like ours, and maybe the Islanders before us, and maybe the Philadelphia Flyers before them, who became this amazing unit and team. And to me, that's the leadership, and we'll talk a little bit more about the amazing players that we have here. And we got a couple guys named Gretzky and Messier that are here that were pretty darn good leaders as well.
You know, Mac, you've sort of woven yourself into the fabric of the community, but also with the organization over the last, 35, 40 years. I know you joked about this, but it was sort of inevitable, wasn't it, that it was going to happen?
2 questions. What's the criteria for this bestowment, and what were the committee thinking?
We were in La Sauce that morning, to be honest with you.
No, it is humbling. I mean, everybody says that, but for a guy like me that, I was a decent player till I got to the NHL, and I had to adapt because there were many players, certainly on this team, that had much more talent than I did. And I think my ability to adapt my game gave me great longevity. And I mean, really fortunate to come to a group that was so mature in their leadership, with Glenn Sather at the helm. He had a great balance of, intimidation and approachability. I mean, and that's a difficult balance to walk as a coach, and he definitely did that. And to Randy's point about Wayne, Mark, and Kevin were our captains, and Koff certainly in that group as well. They were great leaders, and the leadership part of it for me, I've given it some thought about why these guys were such good leaders, and they were exceptional, and in it for all the right reasons, playing the game to win. But they were tremendously supported by their families, of which, I know every person's mother and father, maybe not Randy's, but I know, Jack and Betty were around, Walter and Phyllis, Jesse, Kevin's mom, was around a ton, Doug Messier, Mary Jean. I mean, they were just fantastic people that supported their kids and, grew them to be these great leaders. And, you know, you don't win the cups without talent, that's for sure. But at the same time, you don't win it without the depth of character and leadership that those guys had. And, you know, they had a great example on how a locker room was going to be formed and run. And, you know, Barry Stafford, Peter Miller, Kenny Lowe, those guys were every bit as important in Mark and Wayne's eyes as they were. And, you know, that's unusual. And I was super fortunate to latch on to the best team I could make and hang on as long as I could.
We do have time for a couple quick questions. We will do one-on-ones after, but if anybody wants to fire a quick one in here, Ryan Rashog. Thank you, Jamie Cartmel.
This is from Cam Tate. Just want to specify that and show you all that I'm reading off of.
Oh, it's going to be an excellent question then. I wasn't expecting that.
This is from Cam Tate. Hi, Mac. You look nice today. I see we dress similarly for the occasion. We've always maintained a strong friendship, Mac. You seem to understand me better than others. Do you think it's because you also have suffered severe brain damage from playing without a helmet all those years? Love, Cam. And to Dr. Gregg, why haven't you helped either of us? From Cam.
Fantastic question. No, Cam, as we all know, I draw a lot of inspiration from him. And we joke a lot. I would rarely ever tell him this, but he is an inspiration to me and has been to, you know, suffer the type of disability that he has and still have that unbelievable sense of humor. And, you know, I've said this before, but we're all our best selves when he's around. And he's certainly and he asks better questions than Ryan.
And Cam, to answer that question, first of all, I'm a physician, not a magician. So there's some things you just can't do. So I apologize for that. I do want to say one thing though, that you know, it is so much fun to see Barry Stafford and to see Paul and to see Kevin and Mac T, Dave Hunter up here. But I want to mention one thing, and I think it's so important because a lot of us were young. We weren't, Donnie and I weren't all young. We were 26 at rookies. But there was one man that we just cannot forget because he led that team in ways that we will never forget. And I'm so pleased that Lee Fogland has joined us today.
Absolutely.